This is Nick with logosbynick.com, and in this tutorial I'll be demonstrating how you can create this simple 3D style text emblem using Adobe Illustrator. So we'll go ahead and get started here in Illustrator. I've opened up a new document sized at 1280 by 720, and the first thing I want to do is just set up the workflow here so that we all have a similar layout as I have here. Now what we want to do is come up here to where it says View, make sure you only have Snap to Point enabled. Come up here to where it says Window, and make sure you have Control, Align, Color, and Pathfinder selected. And that's going to be this menu up here and these menus over here to the right. And for this tutorial, we're also going to want the advanced view of these tools. So come over here to where it says Window and go to Toolbars and make sure you choose Advanced. I believe it's set to Basic by default, but we want all of these tools for this lesson. So go ahead and set that to Advanced. And once you've done that, now we can go ahead and create some text. So let me grab the text tool, which is over here. I'm going to click on the canvas to get some text. I want to choose my font up here from this drop down. The font I'm going to use is called Lee Gothic. You can use whatever font you'd like. I think for this sort of design, the Lee Gothic font works really well, so I would recommend using that. I'll put a link in the description of the video if you want to download it. It's a free font. So I'll choose that, and I'm going to write my text. For this tutorial, I'm just going to write design. Let me grab the select tool now and just scale this up. I'm going to hold shift to lock the proportions like that. And I just want to center this up on the page. So let's come over here to the align menu. And we're going to align to, make sure you have align to artboard, and then just center this up on the horizontal and vertical axis like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give this text a little bit of an arch. So to do that, I'll come over here to go to Object, Envelope Distort, and choose Make with Warp. Okay, and from this drop down, I want to choose Arch. I'm looking for Arch right here. And make sure you have the preview toggled on so it's changing as you edit the settings, as you see here on my screen. And once you have that set, the arch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the bend. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. I don't want it arched that much. Maybe a little bit like that. 25% looks pretty good. I'll click OK to finalize that. And what I will do now is I will give this a little bit of a perspective. So to do that, we're going to look for the free transform tool, which is over here. Or you could press E on your keyboard as a shortcut. Click on that. And the setting we're going to choose from this little flyout menu is right here where it says Perspective Distort. Okay, and after you've done that, look for these little circle handles right here. Hover your cursor over it, and once the cursor changes to a perspective icon, just go ahead and click and drag to pull out the perspective of the text like that. That right there is what we're looking for. Okay, so once that's done, we can go back to the Select tool. We can now go to Object, Expand, leave the settings as they are, click OK, and I'm going to make this white. And now I'm going to create a copy of this and put it behind it. So to do that, we'll go to Edit, Copy, then go to Edit, Paste in Place. And I'll make that copy black. And I want to layer that beneath the white copy. So I'm going to come over here. Actually, I'm going to right click the object and go to Arrange. And I'm going to choose Send to the Back. And now I'm going to give this an offset. To do that, we'll go to Object, Path. We're going to choose Offset Path. And we're going to choose a setting over here. You can hover your cursor over this and roll up and down with your mouse wheel to see how it looks. You know, obviously you don't want it to be too thin like that. Then, you know, at the same time, you don't want it to be too thick like that. So I think somewhere, some happy medium would be somewhere right about there. Now for me, the 15 pixels works. For you, it's going to be different. It's going to be based on the size of your text here. If you're working with a bigger text object, you're going to need a bigger offset. And likewise, if you're working with a smaller object, you're going to need a smaller offset. So this is one of those things where you're just going to have to eyeball it and see what looks good. I like how that looks right there. For the joins, you have these options here. You can make it rounded if you'd like. You can make it beveled. I think for this lesson, it works best with miter, so I'm going to leave that as it is. And I think that's it. I'll go ahead and click OK. And now what I want to do is click off of that to deselect everything. And let's click on just the black text object right here and go to Object, Ungroup, and then we'll come over here to the Pathfinder. I'm going to click this button that says Unite. And it's going to unite it all together to one solid shape. So what I want to do now is click and drag over everything. And I want to bring down the opacity a little bit because I want to be able to see what I'm doing for this next step. So I want to be able to see through objects while I'm working for this next step. So let's click off of that to deselect. What I want to do now is click on just the black text right here. And I want to click and drag this down, but then hold Shift and Alt so that it creates a copy of it and locks it onto the vertical axis down there like that. And then I want to take this little handle right here and pull that in, hold Shift to lock the proportions, and then just pull this down a little bit. Again, we're holding Shift so that it doesn't remove it from its axis. vertically like that. And that right there is about what I'm looking for. So I'll click off of that to deselect everything. Let's grab the pen tool now, which is over here. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see this better. I'm going to hold Alt and roll up the mouse wheel. And again, just to double check, make sure you have snap to point enabled. Go to View, snap to point. Okay, that's going to be necessary for what we're doing here. So let's snap the cursor onto the corner of this text object. Snap it onto the corner of this one like that. And then just bring this line going through the object. And make sure to go through any negative space areas where there's holes in the text, as you see here on my screen. Bring this around, snap this to this corner, snap it to this corner, and then bring it back through the text object like this, and then back to the starting point like that. Okay, now what I will do is I will grab the select tool. I will hold shift, I will click on this object down here, the smaller copy, and then while still holding shift, I'll click on the larger copy up here so that we have all three of those objects selected, and I will unify them together by coming over here to the Pathfinder and clicking on Unite. And now I will send that to the back as well. I will right click that, arrange, send to the back. And now I just want to click and drag over everything and just bring the opacity back up to 100% like that. Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit. I'm going to distort this a little bit. I don't like how elongated this is. So I'm going to take this node right here and just bring that up like this, just to decrease the height a little bit. I think that looks a lot better like that. Okay, so let me click off of that to deselect everything. One final step, if you want to put like a colored outline going around this, what you can do is you could take this black object right here and go to Edit, Copy, and then go to Edit, Paste in Place, and make this whatever color you'd like the outline to be. So I'll make this something like that. And then I'll send this to the back, right click, Arrange, send to the back. It'd probably be useful to memorize the keyboard shortcuts for this if you're going to do this often. And I will give that an offset as well. I'll go to Object, Path, Offset Path. And again, I'm trying to hold the cursor over here, roll down the mouse wheel, just adjust this. And I'd say that looks pretty good right there. I'll click OK. And there we go. That should do it for this lesson. That is how you can go about creating this simple 3D style text emblem using Adobe Illustrator. So if you have any questions, just leave a comment below. And as always, thanks for watching.